Training the dogs is one thing, but training the people, that's really where it is, because now they can be better to their dogs. Their dogs can trust them more, and they're going to be more successful. And I've done a lot of coaching of people at nationals, and it's really what turns me on, is putting together the dog-handler combination and helping them understand each other. And well, success is bound to happen when you can do that.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome. It's great to have you tonight. We've got our third Purina Masterclass of the year. And, well, first of all, we want to thank Purina for all they do for all our dog sports. And by the way, they put out a pretty good product, too. Especially, I want to thank Carl Gunzer and Ray Vogt, good friends of mine, great dog people, and they've been the real supporter to keep the Purina Masterclass series going. And we've had a lot of great guests, and tonight is no exception. We've got a bunch of cool stories, and you're going to learn a little bit about ESPN, ESPN Outdoors, and the Super Retriever series. And with that being said, I'm going to introduce tonight's guest, Shannon Nardi. Hi, Shannon. Great to see you. Thanks for being here.
Yes, I'm excited to be here.
Well, I see the banners there over your shoulder there. The super,
Yeah.
Those are cool. Those are
Yeah.
super cool.
Correcting one of the first place prizes to competitors. I got some.
Very neat. Very neat. Well, I'm going to kick this off with the little video from your, this is a deal you did at the 25th anniversary banquet. It was an incredible evening, and I am going to play the little video here. Okay? All right, cool.
If you can put it all together, you'll be the winner.
Handlers, welcome to the Great Outdoor Games. We're happy that you made it out here. We have a wonderful trial set up for you. What I'd like to do is take a few minutes.
It was July 15th, 2000, and I was terrified. I was stepping into my first assignment in a sport I didn't even know existed, much less understood. My name is Shannon Nardi, and for the past 25 years, I've had the privilege of overseeing the Super Retriever series.
Larger, much heavier than your other.
At the time, I was just starting out in my career as a producer, editor for ESPN and ESPN2 Outdoors. My first editing project had been a feature for ESPN Outdoors, People, Places, Things, and Animals, and the focus was on the Galapagos turtles. JM Associates, my father's company, was growing. We were juggling 3 large event programs and about a dozen 30-minute fishing shows, all of which made up the block of what most people tune into on Saturday and Sunday mornings. ESPN and ESPN2 Outdoors. I quickly got thrown into the deep, no pun intended, with a full feature show called The Spanish Fly with Jose Wahebe. Not long after, in 1999, JM collaborated with ESPN to create what would become the Great Outdoor Games, ESPN's version of the Outdoor Olympics. In this new venture, I was assigned to Venue F, about 5 miles outside of the ice skating oval in Lake Placid, New York. My event? Retriever trials. At the time, I had no idea what a retriever trial even was, but I learned quickly. This sport for many seemed to have evolved from waterfowl hunting into a competitive arena. For me, that first year was about watching and understanding what retrievers seemed to love the most, and that was retrieving. They had never seen our dogs work so up close through the lens of a camera. The intimacy of all was captivating, beautiful to watch. And I'm not sure why, but this became my call. Through sadness and through joy, it's always come back to what drew me in from the very start. Sitting in a production trailer, watching the very first team work, and seeing the remarkable bond between a retriever and his handler. The joy of seeing a retriever in action from 300 yards away and the response to his or her handler, what a remarkable thing to witness. All from our retrievers, our companions, and our best friend.
I told you it was going to be worth it. Shannon, that just, I mean, that gives me tingles. I mean, it really does. I mean, I guess everybody here, everybody tonight can remember the first time they ever saw a retriever work or any of the great sporting dogs.
Yeah.
I remember pulling over on the road somewhere going, what in the world are these guys doing? And then I pulled up, and the funny thing is that I thought, the dog was working. I thought the more times they blew the whistle, the better it was, which, I thought, oh, do it again, blow the whistle again. I want to see that. But it is cool. And we have something in common because you talked about, you gave your father thanks. And I certainly gave my father thanks because he's the one that told me, don't spend your life behind a desk. If you want to train dogs and be in that world, well, it's become both our callings, hasn't it?
Yes, it did. It did. I actually was when we were working on all that project, most of my colleagues and everybody I worked with were pretty much in the different venues. I was the only one that went to Venue F. A couple of the camera guys were there in the field, but I was a little angry about it because everybody else was in like timber sports and bass fishing, and they were all together, and I was kind of like 5 miles away, and I was with one of the toughest producers at ESPN, and I was scared to death of him, but he turned out to be a mentor of mine. So we kind of were in that together. But the producer of that very first games was the producer of the very first Super Bowl.
Oh my goodness. I tell you what,
So
I
that was
just,
kind of cool.
it's more than cool. I mean, you think of ESPN and just, things happen for a reason, don't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was pretty cool though.
So when you showed up, when did you realize you were going to Venue F? That,
Well, they told me probably a couple weeks before that I was gonna go to Venue F, and I was just like, "Okay, what's that?" And they're like, "It's retriever trials," and I'm like, "Okay, what's that?" You know, and I mean, I had a Labrador retriever at home, but, I had no idea. I mean, I knew they duck hunted, but I didn't realize there was a game for them.
right.
So I went and I really was kind of put in a trailer that captured all the media. So it just was coming in like for 3 days, and I just had to watch and make sure nothing glitched or went off. But I was kind of by myself in this trailer, and the first time I saw the first dog go out like, 2 or 300 yards and then turn around on a whistle, it just blew me away. I mean, I was just like, "Oh my gosh." And that was it for me. That was it. Um, and then it just kind of went from there.
Well, again, I think everybody here, there's been a that's it for me day. And
Yeah.
that is a great. So was that the first ESPN Outdoor Games?
Yes. That was the year 2000. We did it for 5 years. We did it 3 years in Lake Placid, kind of in the same location, and they kinda handpicked, like, 12 dogs, and, Justin Tackett was the organizer, and he kind of, went around and found out who were the best dogs in the area. I really didn't know any of these guys. I was just kinda there.
Mm-hmm.
And that went on for 2 years, with the 12 dogs that were hand chosen. And it rated really well because I still tell everybody, I think people felt the same way I did when they saw it on television. It was just like, "Oh, wow, I didn't know that they could do that." And and so it rated really well, and ESPN decided they wanted to do an actual qualifier to get to the games. So we started holding qualifiers, and that's where Super Retriever Series became the qualifier for the games.
Oh, okay. So All right. The 25th anniversary was
That was, this
last
was a
year? I mean,
2 years ago,
2
25 or
that
24 was our 25th crown, our
okay.
25th.
Okay, so the SRS, I mistakenly thought that after the outdoor games kind of changed and were no more, that's when the SRS came in, but that's not the
No,
case.
we were actually 3 years in with the games because I was actually the guinea pig because Bill, the producer, he'd say, "Hey, try this," or we'd say, "Hey, we're going to do this at the qualifier," and we'd try different things via television wise and
Mhm.
see if it, and then we would implement those at the games that they did. So it was, we were kind of the test with the qualifiers, and they would air those shows. There was 3 events we'd go to, and we'd do 3 shows per event, and those would precede the game. So it was kind of a build up to who was qualifying, and then they would be at the games.
How many days did the entire games last?
The actual whole games was like a week long.
Okay.
Uh, and then we were like usually Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Okay. 3
And
days.
so days, and then we would take all that footage and like the first year I just did it right there in the trailer. We edited right there. It was probably the most grueling edits I've ever had because you really don't sleep for like I'm serious. You just don't sleep for like a week.
Yeah.
But by the second or third year, they were shipping us back to ESPN in Connecticut, and we would edit in there and do the voiceovers and get it all ready because it really aired about 2 weeks after we shot it. So it was a real quick turnaround. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
And you're right. I'm just wondering, like, all right, who at ESPN decided, let's do a retriever deal? And
I don't answer. Like I said, I told you this kind of earlier. I wasn't in the pre-meetings. I do know that they wanted dog sports, and I knew there was 4 dog sports. Retrievers was one of them. And they also did Big Air, which became the dock jumping event, which was a really big thing too.
mhm.
They did ball and agility. So
Okay,
those are the four dog sports that we did.
but this was the one field or hunting based sport. There's
Yeah.
obviously
Yeah.
there's other deals, but I guess yeah, I could see where it'd be difficult with pointers, and you'd have to be in a event, and things like that would be tricky. But this
I mean,
certainly, yeah,
we went to go do a site survey to try to find the field to use. I just remember it like I didn't know anything about it. I mean, I really didn't. They drew it on a piece of paper. They drew kind of a test like we see, good now, but I just had a handwritten kind of test, and it reminded me of baseball. I'm like, okay, there's home plate. Dogs are to go out here, and you know.
yeah.
But I remember like not, Bill really didn't know a lot about it. We were all just so, you know, n- newbies at all this, and just hoped that it was going to work out.
So when the outdoor games, they went 5 years,
Yes,
and then they said we're going to discontinue this.
yes. And
I
it was
mean,
like we really couldn't. Like retrievers we were having a wait list to get into it, and it was just really kind of booming for us. So I was working at JM, and of course ESPN wasn't doing it. My dad kind of bled ESPN. He wasn't going to go to another network.
okay,
Um, only one at that time, which was Outdoor Life Network, and I just took that. I told him, I said, "Look, I want to do this. I'm going to take it." Because it was just kind of there. Nobody, it wasn't owned by anybody. So I just took it, and I took that and Water Dog and went to Outdoor Life Network, and I'm still doing it.
so how many years were you with the Outdoor Life Network?
I was on that until it actually changed to another network, and then it changed to NBC Sports. I can't remember the one between, but I was on the one between for a little while. And then when 2008 hit, we had a really bad economy at that point. I'm sure everybody remembers that, but
Right, sure we do.
we were off of network until probably about 12 or 13 when YouTube was, we were figuring that out. We were trying to do some stuff on YouTube, and we did. Then we went back on Discovery in 2018.
So it would have been
And
easy
now
just to give this up. I mean, you know,
100%. And sometimes that's why I said I don't know. I really don't know why I kept doing it.
yeah,
I mean, I just love it. I love telling the stories about the dogs and the handlers, and of course, it was a lot easier to do that in the game days in the early days because you only had 12 competitors competing And so it was real easy to to get into the story of each guy and dog. And then you started rooting for your favorite. It's hard now because we have over 100 competitors, and it's hard to, get personal about each one of them to start rooting. So it's basically just, their hometown fans are rooting for them.
Well, and you mentioned that who produced the first Super Bowl? That was
Phil Fitz. He produced the first 6 Super Bowls, was also on CBS radio before television. So he was actually retired, and they brought him out of retirement to
okay.
do he was only a few years out of retirement, but and I think he's in his 90s and he's still kicking, and he actually got his a degree in health and fitness after he retired, and then he started running agility dogs. It was crazy. Anyway, he was a tough producer. It was not easy
Uh-huh.
because I saw him fire people in the field if they just moved the wrong way. When we were doing the first couple of years, we'd had those giant parabs that they use for audio, like they do in football, and we'd have 2 or 3 of those out in the field to get the sound. And every once in a while it would hit the sun and it would glare. And of course, everybody, we were new at this and we didn't know if the dog would see that, but it hindered the dog and what he thought it was. And he walked out there and, 800 yards and fired that guy. Well, I have tons of stories. I could go on forever, so just tell me to shut up.
Well, we talk about it walking out in the field, and we call it the walk of shame, but we're usually going out to fire the dog, and we're headed home.
But, we were nervous about cameras in the field, and we had a lot of them on scaffolding. We had some of them in waders in the water, which you did see a shot of that. And after I did this a couple of years, it just occurred to me that the dogs were not paying attention to any of that. They may look over there at them, but they're just kind of like they're just doing their job, and it wasn't really a hindrance. I mean, we're always still careful, but I don't think they cared. They knew what they wanted to do, and that was to retrieve that bird, and that's what they did.
Well, I hear people say this sometimes, and I said, well, where would the NFL be without TV?
Oh,
where would, the
100%.
any of these sports would not be where they were,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
we didn't bring them to the public. And that's what's so cool about what you guys do. And I was total geeked out when I met all those camera guys, and they'd worked World Series and Super Bowls, and
Yeah.
they're I mean, they are just the epitome of professionals. They are incredible.
Yeah.
And
They work
yeah,
hard, I have to say. They really do. It's a
oh,
long day.
yeah. I mean, how many sporting events are you out there 10, 11 hours,
Exactly.
5 days in a row? A Super Bowl is going to last, I
Yeah.
mean, pregame, maybe 6 hours, but not 5 days in a row. And those guys, they're amazing.
It's a
And
long day, 5 days.
so, okay, so it's evolved. We talked about, so that's cool. The beginning, I mean, some of that stuff I was somewhat aware of, but you certainly closed some gaps for me and probably a lot of our audience. And so we want to talk a little bit about today. And you've got
Okay.
some cool stuff going, but how does somebody get in the game? And you mentioned, we talked a little bit earlier. I had one of our clients, he's here tonight from Pennsylvania, Rick Schneider. And he said, and I've heard a number of people, how do we get into this? Like, where do we start? I mean, Rick said, and I want to read a little bit of his, of what he said. He said, I ran my first SRS trial. We made it to the second series. The second series was a field trial setup. Now, Rick has done very well in hunt tests, passed some master nationals, but he struggled on the field trial test. And he just said, did I think I would win? No. It was more of, where do we stand in the game? What do we need to work on? That's a great way of looking at it. And I just had
Yeah.
the feeling that it's more going to go. Anyways, he was asking me some advice on helping him get there. And you had some thoughts on that as well. And
I
you
do.
shared that with me a little bit earlier.
People ask me that a lot, and I'm certainly not a dog retriever game expert, but I do tell folks that want to get involved. I mean, it's just like any sport. it's not going to happen on the first time. You may have a lucky shot. Somebody's lucky and they got there the first time, they get to the finals. Most of the time they don't. And I tell everybody, hey, make a dedication that you're going to do 4 or 5 events this year. And you're going to, those handlers are going to talk to you. They're going to help you with the scoring system. The scoring system, I think, is probably the hardest thing to figure out. How you're being scored, what you're being scored on. And I think a lot of these guys that have been doing it have just been doing it long enough that they just have it in their head. But I think you just have to make a commitment and do a few and try to learn the game. And then and I do think that anybody that's competitive is hooked immediately.
There are some great things, things about the scoring system that I saw. First of all, the judging is transparent. You know right away. What I saw is the judges give the sheet away and they don't do.
Because, when we first started this, we literally, and I still have this, I have this in my memorabilia box, but we had 3 judges and they used plungers. You had a 2-point plunger and a 5-point plunger. They had 2 plungers in their hand, all 3 of them. And then we had a guy that would kind of sit back and make sure, because if they didn't hit them within 3 seconds, it wouldn't put the score in. So if they messed up and we'd have to go and add the score. And we did that for, gosh, I bet, I don't know, probably till 11 or 2011 or 12. And then we just kind of went on paper, because I think the scoring system crapped out or something. And we started just doing it on paper. And then that was like, let's just do it on paper. It's a lot easier. So we started doing it on paper. And then when social media came out and we got a little bit more progressive with social media, it was like, okay, we're going to put the score on social media. And we did it for like, every 10 to 15 dogs. And then that became like, hey, we want to see this more. We want to see this quicker. Well, it was hard for us to get that quicker, because I'm literally sitting by my desk on a weekend, every weekend, and entering scores for people to see. And I guess it was just a couple of years ago, we figured out how to do it where it's plugged in immediately when the judge gives the score. It's plugged in immediately and it goes right onto our website and it's live. So we have a live scoreboard. And that was a game changer for everybody. The handlers love that because they can see immediately what their score was. I loved it because I'm not married to my computer every weekend.
Okay.
So it's really made everybody happy.
And as I looked at it, and coming from a field trial background, they're trying to score the same things, just in a different way. You use penalty points,
Yes.
and the higher the score, the worse your job is. And they try to prioritize those points in a similar way that you might judge another retriever venue. But what was also interesting is, you could kind of figure out, and there's a rotation, which also very much like golf is, the better you do, the more kind the rotation is to you.
Yeah.
And then you can strategize a little bit. You can look at the leaderboard. You can make some plans. I mean, there's a lot of different intriguing parts to this.
Yeah, and I think once the guy or the gal or guy figure that game out, and you start getting close to the semifinals and finals, then it comes very strategic. I mean, they know their score, they know how much they can, give up or not give up, or do I go for it? So it becomes very strategic.
And there's in the world that I came from, I mean, you wanted to have that. You were trying to envision that same thing, but you didn't know. In the real world, you had no idea. You could only speculate.
We do that at finals. In the final series, we do not post the scores until the end. So going into the finals, it's you don't see anything.
And the other thing, callbacks are always, everybody goes, oh, I can't believe they called him back, but they didn't call me back, kind of thing. In field trials. Well, you go to a specific number, you see the points. I mean, it's not like you're wondering who's getting called back.
Right. They can watch the bubble. They know where they're at.
Boom.
They can kind of watch.
You're not sitting on the edge of your seat waiting for those callbacks to come out.
Right.
And again, that's always a bone of contention. Well, I've spent, especially at nationals, I mean, you'd be sitting there in the hotel lobby at 11 o'clock at night waiting for those callbacks to come out. And, and there were some interesting evenings. When
bet.
there were some adult beverages flowing around and people got a little rowdy sometimes. So, okay.
Um,
So you've got some great stuff. Do you want to look at the site a little bit? Where do you,
Sure.
so I'm going to jump into this and we're going to look. Yeah, let's go over to that. So let's look at that. That should pop up here right now.
Yeah, so right on the left scoreboard down. Let's look at the scoreboard because we just talked about that. That'd be good. So this is like, we started this in 25. So you can actually, at the top it says 2026, you can actually hit the little arrow down, it'll give you 25, but let's just stay here. So if you scroll down, it'll actually highlight the next event that's coming up. It'll be in red. And right now, because that'll be this weekend, let me see, where's it at? Oh, no, go up. Maybe I missed it.
Okay, this is Otto.
It's Dallas, it's Habitat Flats. Yeah, it's right there.
Right here.
Nope, stop.
Right here.
Yeah, Habitat Flats. So
Oh.
that's coming up.
Okay, gotcha.
So if you click on view scoreboard,
At Habitat Flats, okay, then
they're gonna be able to see their running order. So there's the running order.
okay.
So they know the running order, they know how they're gonna do it. Let's go back. Can you go back to an event prior? I should have did that anyway.
I think I think I can go just like that.
So we can go to, just click on anything above Habitat Flats. Go to Meat River right here. That's a good one, right there.
Okay.
So there's all their scores, and it's in like winning order. So you have all your top 6 AMs and your top 6 pros. When the event's happening, it's shuffling everybody. But and that's showing you all handlers that were in that event. If you go to amateur, you can click on the little amateur at the top left. And that's just going to show you amateurs and all their scores. That shows you where they fall off and their placements. And then you can go to open and that'll show you all of their scores.
Gotcha. Well, Ron.
Yeah, Ron won the open.
He won. Rip. Yeah. And if you don't know Ron and Rip, they've won how many crowns? 2?
They've won 2. Yeah.
And I've been very impressed with this Rip dog. I've watched him at a couple of these crowns, and then I watched him win 2 amateur and 1 open this spring and when he jumped into the world of field trials with both feet. And now he is pre-national training in Montana, getting ready to go to the National Amateur Retriever Championship. So pretty neat. Pretty neat. Yes. That's Ron's a great guy, and the picture you saw with Shannon on the banner is Shannon with Rip, right?
Right. He wanted a picture. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have one. And I thought, oh yeah, I took one with Rip after he won. I'll just send him that.
Okay, so what you've got here, I'm sliding up and down the scoreboard. I mean, so there were, I gotcha. So that was a pretty big open entry, wasn't it?
I think it was maybe 79, maybe 80. It was a full event. They may have lost a couple due to heat before the event started, but it was a full event. We take 80 dogs total. You have to have at least 20 amateurs and you have to have at least 10 amateurs and 20 open players with a total of 30 players to actually hold the event.
I gotcha. Okay. There was a total of 78 entries. Okay, I see that. Is that correct right down here at the bottom?
Yes. Ron's listening.
We got, hold on a minute. We got, I don't know if that's going to show up where you can see it. Maybe, maybe not. Yep. Yep. All right. Ron. Looks like they're headed across. I know that trip from Montana to Oregon, Ron, and that make sure you got your gas tank full. That state of Oregon's a lot wider and not many stations if you're crossing that desert. Well, best of luck, Ron, and have a great time. Very cool. All right, fun. Well, and we're going to keep track of our boy. We got spies out there, Ron. We got guys in the bushes watching you. So have a great time. Make the best of it. So cool. All right. So show me some more stuff on this.
So
Let's
the
get,
other new thing that we just debuted last month, which I was so super excited about doing. I hope everybody else is as excited as I am about it, but I know you will be this fall when you come and commentate. So statistics, we just figured out how to take all of our, database with our points,
right.
and my web guy just went in and just I don't even know how he did it, but it's just amazing to me because it's given me every stat that anybody could ever want. And the reason I did that is because I actually overheard Carter Turner and maybe Leah or a couple of guys a couple of years ago talking about how many total points they had for the year. And I was like, how do you guys know that? Like, I don't even know that. And they're like, oh, I keep an Excel sheet at home and I keep tab on my points. And I was like, oh, wow. Well, in talking about that, I thought, okay, this is something they want. And then putting the live scoreboard, I'm thinking, if we put some statistics on the same page as the scoreboard is, give them something else to look at while they're waiting for a score or something. So, so did you click on that?
Yeah. Let me do that.
Here. Okay. So, it comes up with kind of the beginning where it gives you, I can't really see that because I'm kind of blind.
So what you got? Okay. Well, I
Top
mean,
dog.
top dog right now is Kane.
Yep. And then you have top, is that open handler?
Lyle Stein. Okay, so these are the top career. Oh, these are career. Okay,
Career
gotcha.
points are at the
Yeah,
top of the
so
list.
it's got that's Leah and Kane, right?
Yeah. So just click on Kane. Let's just look at
Okay,
him.
that's how it goes. Okay, so we click on. There you
So
go.
you can click
All
on
right.
Kane to give you, how many total points he has, his win averages. It'll show you how many handlers have run him, which is Justin Hergert and Leah Spivey over here on the right. It just gives you all this information,
Very
and then you can start clicking on the header at the front of at the top of the page that you see. You can see events, the crown stats, SRSU stats, handler stats, owner stats. So we have stats for everything in there, and it's kind of a rabbit hole. You can kind of
I
just
was going
start
to say,
going.
if you want to go down yeah, you certainly can. Well, I
Um,
mean, you're right. Well, it's certainly going to give people a chance to look at, you know, careers and, what really successful dogs are doing. And yeah, you've
yeah.
got, so this is this year's team of the year. So,
Yeah, I have the team of the year listed there for this year.
and
Uh,
so this
like if
dog,
you clicked on let's click on a handler, like click on Lyle.
okay.
And Lyle actually doesn't have all his points. I am having to hand enter the database from 2000 to 2013, and I have not finished that yet. So
So it
those
says
things
he
are,
has 210 starts. Now, whether that,
yes. And
does that,
he's got more than that because he's missing those early years.
gotcha. Okay.
Here's a list of all the dogs he's run on this side. Um, his performance rate.
Oh,
He can
okay.
go. You can look at, that's the overview you're looking at. If you go, see where overview is on the left under his,
Right
they
here.
will have pictures eventually too. Yeah, so
this
you can
is,
look at
yeah.
career, you can click on career right there. You can click on his results. It's just crazy, all the information. Then like that brings up each event. You can click on the event, see who judged the event, see whatever dogs placed on the event. So
Wow.
it's pretty cool. So I'm pretty pumped about that.
Well, did you make more work for yourself?
I did. I did have to go back and enter it. But this will be so good for like you and whoever's commentating
Yep.
at the desk to be able to pull that up and just find out any information about the handler or the dog, and it's just right there.
I've
And that,
really pushed for people that I talk to and across the country to dial in and watch, because there's nowhere ever where you have that picture over the top of a dog's head doing something like this.
yeah,
And
I learned that
you
too.
not just from the cinematic enjoyment aspect, but I mean, I just go crazy with the learning opportunities. I mean, you
Yeah.
just
Well, it's been, I mean, and actually having you there has been a real blessing because it's like a lot of people really like having knowledgeable. It's hard to
Mhm.
find folks to do that job because
Right.
of them are running, especially in the beginning. And now having you there has been great. And then we can add somebody to the panel once they go out. And so it's been really good. It's almost like a master class for the whole week, Pat.
I mean, it is. And,
It really,
when you invited me that first time, if you'd have told me, well, you're going to sit up there for 11 hours and just talk. And I thought, and that, now I didn't realize that till I did it. But when I was finished, I go like, wow. And, it's not been boring at all. You're just, and, and we're getting geeked out on statistics. I get geeked out on like the little innuendos that go on. And I try to share that with people and realize, did you see that? Did you see that?
if you're, obviously it's a lot of watching, but, especially for you guys that are there and really into the game, and we start making the cuts and you start getting to the semifinals and then the finals, you're invested, you've been watching these dogs all week, and it's like it's a sporting event.
Yeah.
You know?
And you watch the pressure build with the handlers,
Yeah, absolutely.
and, and there's pretty serious purses involved. I don't know how much,
Yeah, we did. Our purse last year was about 78,000, and that's the cash prize, and then we had probably another 20,000 worth of packages of, goodies.
and that kind of came out of the world of like bass fishing tournaments and things like that. I mean, that's where because that's unheard of in our game.
Yeah, yeah, it for sure is, and I did come from that, and the way we've I think ESPN gave, and I'm trying to find those numbers out, like what they actually won, but once we started doing SRS, we do payouts at the qualifiers as well.
Right.
That money's coming from the entry. That it's the money they're putting in, a percentage of that goes to the entry, and a percentage of that goes to the championship.
Right.
So, and then the championship entry, pretty much 80% of that goes to the payout. So, the handlers build that,
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. And I just, I looked at these cameramen. I mean, and there's a bunch of them.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's like, wow. I'm still amazed how it works. But I'll tell you what, I'm glad it works because it's pretty darn cool. Pretty darn cool. So, is this going to be the 27th year?
The 27th crown, yeah. We're kind of like crown first, then the year, because we started with the games. That was the championship without a qualifier. So that's
Right.
kind of a year ahead. The crown will be the 27th crown, but we'll be going into the 27th year.
So where do you see it going from here?
I don't know. I have a bunch of guys that have done outstanding work getting these scores. It's like our rules committee. They've worked on these scores really for the last 6 years, and they're really so tight, and it's so good. And they worked on that hard. And so if we feel like we've got that in a good space, I'd like to try to get more into like a teaching element, or when we actually did develop what I'm calling the SRSQ minor stake, and we'll start that this fall. We're going to do a couple of them and see how they work. And we're going to try to put more of a learning aspect in that. We'll hold 3 series. We'll kind of teach, as we go, before, after, do like a quick seminar before we start the event on scoring and learning about the game.
Okay.
And that'll be for dogs that aren't, to have points in the SRS. So it'll be like it's not going to be a step down. The game will be the same, but it won't be competing against the dogs that have been playing this.
So it's very much like the qualifying stake would be in field trials.
Yes.
Because
yes.
once you've won 2 qualifyings, you can't run.
Yes.
If you placed in any major stake, then, it's,
Yes.
and we called it qualifying, by the way, because some of the open stakes were limited in specials because their numbers were so big, and you had to qualify to be able to enter that. And by getting first or second in a qualifying, it made you eligible. That's really the beginning of that word. And so this kind of launches you into the big leagues and probably enables you to play a little longer than you would be if you just came in with the big shots.
People have so many questions, and I think there's a little intimidation sometimes. So I do think it'll be a really good arena for new people to check it out and see if they're interested in it. The other thing that we didn't do this year, and it's the first year we haven't done it since 18, I think. So it kind of just collided with the Grand, and there just wasn't another weekend, and that's the SRS University.
Okay.
That's like my baby. It's
Well,
like
tell me more about that.
I love this event, and I would encourage anybody that even hadn't played SRS to come do it with a college kid. It's a high school or college kid, and it's basically a three series event with a coach. So, for instance, you could go get a high school or college kid. You're the coach, and you can come up there, and there's a chair sitting by the tent by the judges, and you're sitting in that chair like a coach, and you're coaching from the chair.
And so, are you providing a dog for the young man to work?
Yeah, if they don't have one, yes. We will find them a dog and a coach if they just want to come try it out. It wasn't the original goal, but we realized from some of the kids that did have dogs and came and played that first year, like, hey, my friend wants to come, but she doesn't have a dog. Is it okay if can we find her a dog? And I was like, we should probably just open this up where any kid could come play this, and we'll find them a dog and a coach if we need to. So that's what we've done. And it's, I think we probably had 18 or maybe 20 kids at the most, but it's like the most fun that you can have to watch these kids compete. And they're kind of from all over, so they meet each other, and the ones that we had the very first year still communicate. They still see each other on Facebook, and you can see them, talking with each other, and they kind of rooted each other on. It's just like how we are really as adults, but it got them involved with the game. And a lot of these kids are running Ferraris, I promise you. and but they, it just put the seed in their brain to
Yeah.
continue this on. And it's really a lot of fun. And I think I've heard the coaches say different things, like it's so amazing for them to be able to coach in an actual event. It's not like training, you're actually in the middle of it, but you're able to
Yeah.
help them. So that was real different for them. And you can learn a lot by sitting there and listening to the coach a kid.
So, was this your idea?
Yeah, I always wanted to do a college event because again, I kind of come from the fishing world, and my brother still produces the Bassmasters. So I follow what they're all doing, and my dad too. So, when they introduce in college, that's huge now in bass fishing. I mean, they give out scholarships for college bass fishing. And now it's high school. So they have, when you go to the Bassmaster Classic, you watch the college kids compete on the big stage on the first, preliminary day, and then the college kids compete, and then you get to the bigger guys. But I mean, it's a big deal. And fishing's obviously different than trying to have a dog and train a dog, but I just knew that could be a cool thing.
Well, I just applaud you because we all talk about. We don't see young people at field trials. There's a lot of things that make it hard with field trials.
It is hard.
The
It's hard.
ground, I mean, the time you have to commit,
The time.
the
Yeah,
grounds,
and
the expense, and a lot of things. But I want, again, this has been my life, and the last thing I want to see is these sports die. And
Yeah.
and it's something like what you were talking about to bring new people in. I promise you, you're going to meet somebody 30 years from now that's just like the next Ron Anderson, so to speak, that's going to
Yeah.
have been one of those kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, his daughter's one of my and he coached her.
Well, she's a pistol now. She's not.
Yeah, she's good.
And I remember a story. I was in Wisconsin with Wayne Curtis, and we went to a place along the Mississippi River in the town of Pepin, a neat little restaurant. And there was a guy next to us, and he had a doodle of some sort, Anyway,
Yeah.
so for some reason we started to talk a little bit, and we said we were retriever trainers. He said, "Well, I used to do that in college." And I said, "Really?" He said, "Matter of fact, I sold a dog. I just couldn't continue. It was expensive to a guy in Mississippi Well, it turned out to be a famous dog.
Oh, really?
And we realized you owned, what was the dog's name? It was a yellow dog, and it was Charlie Bunn from Memphis.
Okay.
And it was Sandy of Sourdough. That was the dog's name. And he's in a lot of pedigrees. And so this guy from college ends up, and he just asked, what's the sport doing now? And all this stuff. So there's going to be, you're going to see somebody, and they're going to
I
be
would
the
love to
next
see that. I
person
would
doing
love
what
to
you're
see that.
doing.
Yeah, and that's the hardest thing for me to do. The college event is, am I freezing? I feel like I'm freezing.
You did for a second, but
Can you hear me? Oh,
Yep.
there I am.
I got you.
Froze. Yeah. Right. The biggest thing, the hardest thing for me with the college event is just getting that word out and how to reach those kids, because I know they're out there and I know they would, love to try it. And then, I know I can find coaches for them and dogs for them. It's just finding the kids. So I usually try to, when we get our date set for next year, I'm going to try to really make an early push on trying to get folks.
Where do you hold
and
it? You hold it same?
kind of move around. We held it at Pepper's Pond for the first 3 years. We went to Mossy Pond last year, and we went to Alabama one year. I'm looking to either go to Natchez or Tennessee next year. I try to move it around to give kids in different locations a better, easier way to get there. Because it's like, they're coming in with a lot. The first year we had it, like parents were there. It was the greatest thing. We had all these parents come in. They all had their little college flags, and it was really
So
awesome.
did you try to go to a college town? Well, I guess
No, I didn't try to do that, but I worked through Facebook and went to every DU chapter and sent them a flyer to try to get them involved. And that's how I did meet a lot of those kids that came that first year.
because I remember you guys just said the Bassmasters was in Knoxville this year,
Yes.
and had an incredible show.
Oh, yeah.
And I just think, well, there's some places around Knoxville that you
Oh,
could
yeah.
hold something like this. And I thought,
Right. There really is.
so that's cool.
Yeah,
That
I'd love to try to, get that really
you
going.
do
And I'd
one
like
a year.
Yes. Yeah. It's really hard. It's hard to find a weekend for those kids. It's because they're so in other sports or whatever. And we've been doing it on a Memorial Day weekend, because that's kind of what they wanted. You can't do it in the fall because there's too much football and soccer.
Yeah.
And so we did it on Memorial Day weekend, and that's been about the best we've been able to do. It gets too hot in the summer. We did one in the middle of the summer, and that was horrible, horribly hot. It was a good event, but it was hot. But that's the goal, is to try to build that. And then I would like to try to figure out how to get, more out west, because we've just not been able to do that. It's always been we've had people try to do it, but they can't get the 30 dogs. People don't want to run it. They just want to watch it. And so it's kind of like, okay, I just got to get those guys out there to want to play.
The West struggles a little bit in today's field trials.
Yeah.
California, especially for some reason, and it's just frustrating. But you're forward thinking this, and that's what I love, and that's why I did a handful of covering nationals, trying to do the best I can to produce
Sure.
something that they
Right.
would allow me to do to get
Yeah.
people to be able to see what this looks like.
Yeah.
And how exciting it is. And you've just done an awesome job with that. And I applaud you. And I'm just a lover of all these venues. I've gone to I just went to
The Grand, right?
I went to the Grand, and I went to the thing that I really have really enjoyed. I went to Salt Lake City to actually the 2002 Winter Olympics site at
Yes.
Soldier Hollow, and it was a herding dog event.
Oh,
And
that's
boy, oh
right.
boy. And that
Oh,
is, that huge turnout was a big, the vendors, the people from Salt Lake,
Yeah.
and it was such a, and once again, it's a pretty easy, deal to watch, a lot like what you've created. I even
Yeah.
mic'd up a couple of the handlers,
Yeah.
and they let me, and I videoed them, with a pretty decent device. And I've got a couple of those videos. I'll share them with you. But I did a picture of the course, and you could hear the whistles and the one guy, the gentleman Fonzie Bassan from South Africa, and it was, and then I actually filmed the winning dog.
Oh, awesome.
And
So that's
so
on my bucket list.
So it's really something. And I just,
Yeah.
I'm just always I had a chance to go some of the biggest sled dog events and Springer Nationals and retriever stuff, and I never get tired of watching
Yeah.
watching
Watching the
people and dogs, and just because it's just been such a great life, more than I ever could have imagined. And you bring it to everybody's back, right into their living room, I guess is what I
Well,
want to say.
I like doing that. I like trying to, I know what I like to see, so I try to make sure that I think everybody else likes to see the same thing. So,
Well, I do have one question I'm gonna throw up here. I don't know if I
sure.
have more, but it goes, um, Scott asks, would you agree that the SRS has created a subset of pros AM dogs that the main focus is the SRS?
I mean, I think some of them are focused on that, but I really think they play all the games because they've obviously, the dogs that run SRS have obviously had to go through either the AKC master program or the HRC program to really get to our program. I mean, they're not required to have a title,
Right,
but you kind of have to have a title to get in
right.
and be successful. Um, but I feel like most of these guys go do all the events.
And you're right. They don't necessarily do, like, I don't know any of them that do field trials, SRS, HRC, and AKC. They seem to like either do three of the four. It seems like
Yeah,
more.
I agree. I agree. Except for
Eh,
Ron.
Oh yeah, yeah. Where do you see the SRS going in 10 years? And that's what we were talking about.
It's like I had I and it's kind of far fetched because I always thought, this thing will get big. This is going to get really big, and you're not going to be able to run as many dogs through that week like we do. It's already tough for us to run 120 dogs. And the reason it's harder for us to do that, just so you know, like with the Grand and the Master National, they get, 800 plus dogs and they have to do it for a week. It's a whole different ball game when you're dragging camera equipment and
Oh,
camera crew around. It's a process. And so, we already use a week. I can't imagine going any longer. And we haven't really talked about what happens if we grow out of that. We've talked about making a quicker cut. But, in my little dream world sometimes, and I've thought about this, I actually have it on paper. And a lot of the older guys would remember talking about this, but I always pictured it almost like a college or NFL or whatever, where you have regions and they have regionals and they get
yeah,
down to the 12 regionals and then they come to the crown championship. That
yeah,
was always my dream, and maybe it will be one day, who knows?
yeah. Like the NFC East,
Yeah.
you know, and then very yeah.
You're
You're right. If you could, if you had 400 dogs qualify,
Yeah, there's no way we could get through that. We'd
right?
have to have a cut down before you even started. You'd have to.
But
My camera my
where is
camera
it
guy,
coming? I guess I didn't really know. Like in the last 5 years, how much has the entries
oh
grown?
my gosh. Well, obviously 2020 when COVID hit, we probably had seven qualifying events a year. So we had, 40 to 60 dogs for the championship. And then COVID hit and we completely blew up. It was just like, well, we're outside, we can be outside. And then I just had all kinds of people calling me, go, hey, we want to hold one of those events. Hey, we want to hold a club event. And so we just started holding events. And now we're like, we have 30 events a year. We have it almost every weekend. Um, Granted, a couple that are, when the National and the Grand start having their Super Bowls, we're laying off. But other than that, we're rolling every weekend and sometimes two. So, um, what was the question? I can't remember
I
what you
guess
asked
where do
me.
you see it going in 10 years?
Oh,
You talked about,
no,
and I asked like, where's it gone in the last, you know,
yeah, 5 years. Yeah, so we grew a lot since in the last 6 years. We've grown a whole lot, and with that, we've built a stronger pack of rules and policies and things that we have feel really good about. And so I feel like we're really in a good place.
I that's something I really liked. I listened to some of the guys at the rules committee, and they're open minded, and changing rules is not nearly as hard as it is in an AKC deal where you have the
We
rules
don't
committees.
we don't change anything during the year, as far as a rule goes, but we bring in, folks that have suggestions. We encourage that, and then we talk about them. We talk through them, and I have 9 guys that sit there and hammer them, and then if we decide that it's a good thing, we'll go for it.
And these guys are guys that are running. I mean, these aren't.
Yes, like we have, like right now we have 3 pros, 3 amateurs, a judge, and the field rep.
What I was impressed with, is the camaraderie, the the relaxed feeling at with so much money at stake. And
Yeah.
it was you would have thought there'd be more tension between the competitors, and I haven't seen that.
I try to, and I really do try to make it a fun event, especially for those guys that don't make it past the second series. I try to, and I have a crew that help me do all this, but our big hats and bow ties, that's
Yeah.
one of my favorite events because it's a great time to everybody see each other. We're just getting there and everybody's happy, and we have our banquet. We added game day last year, which was
Yeah, that
fun.
was fun.
We'll be doing that again. So I try to have some fun things that folks will remember and have a good time at in case they do have to go home early. And just it's another camaraderie with folks, during that. It is a tough week.
Well, I just once again want to thank you. I want to thank Purina for
Yeah,
jumping on board. I'll tell
yeah,
you what, they are forward thinking. When I I went to the Soldier Hollow and they said, we couldn't have this event without them. And then I
yeah,
go to a Springer deal and they say the same thing. And, I started feeding Purina Pro Plan the day they opened. It was
yeah.
1987, 88, uh, and I've met incredible people, great friends. Um, I just
Well,
can't say enough about it.
they're great the supporters of the dog sports, no doubt. It's really great.
Well, and here's another example. Well,
Yeah.
Shannon, it has been a true pleasure.
Right.
Your passion, your smile, uh, just really says it all. It really does, and I feel the same way. And that commercial is just. I mean, it sends chills. I mean, the full length one, I was like, oh my god. And you
They're
did
fun.
an amazing job.
Like going back in time, putting that thing together. It was fun.
So we get a couple of these guys giving us some shout outs. And
You're
well,
welcome.
there's Hilda giving. I'll tell you what, they're all rooting on Ron. Yeah. Anyways, it's been totally fun. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for taking
Yeah.
your evening to kind of tell us about it, and
Yeah.
and I just I'm excited for what's happening and what's going on. And I
Yeah.
just again I encourage everybody, just embrace all these different venues. Don't get
Yes,
wrapped up into, oh, I'm
absolutely.
only an HRC or I'm only an AKC, or I'm only a field trialer. They're just all, the more we invest in our dogs and invest in
Absolutely.
learning, the more our dog sports, our retriever sports are going to continue to exist.
Yeah, that's
And
absolutely right.
so, all right. With that being said,
Thank you so
good night.
much.
Good night, everybody. Thank you so much for spending the evening with us, and we'll see you at our next Purina Masterclass. Bye bye.